How's it going? How's it going? I know the news is just full of a certain event that happened over the weekend that continues to go on. But there's other news to take note of. And one of them is the US border and how certain policies are allowing a strain on local economies. Local people are at danger because we're not vetting them properly. They're just letting them in. This is from the clickondetroit.com. Let's see here. National Elliott Spaggett, Associated Press, published on October 10th, 2023 at 11:15, updated October 10th, 2023 at 5:52 p.m. Tags US News, Joe Biden, Washington News. Doesn't say what time zone. U.S. Border Patrol has released thousands of migrants on San Diego street, taxing charities. San Diego, over 5 years, the largest U.S. city on the Mexican border, developed a well-oiled system to shelter asylum seekers. The system is being tested like never before. The U.S. Customs and Border Protection released migrants to the streets of California's second largest city because shelters are full. Since September 13, about 13,000 have been dropped off at transit stations with notices to appear in immigration courts at their final destinations in the U.S., with about 500 more arriving daily. Now that's happening on California. See, your migrant aid groups blame the mix of circumstances for the shelter's crunch, reduced government funding, CBP practice of sending migrants from Texas and Arizona to be processed in San Diego, and a surge in illegal crossings. Last week, Joe Biden administration advanced plans for a border wall in Texas, Rio Grande Valley, and said it would resume deportation flights to Venezuela. Before their release in San Diego, some migrants being dropped off had been waiting between a double-layer border wall or camping under the Border Patrol watch in remote mountains east of the city. The CBP closed a major pedestrian border crossing from Tijuana, Mexico on September 14th and signed more officials to process migrants. Many do not know where they are. That this is San Diego. This is San Diego region. The nearest airport is San Diego, and how to get to their final destination. This is what we're trying to provide support with, says Paula Perez, managing attorney for Immigration Defender Law Center Cross Border Initiative. Illegal crossings top a daily average more than 8,000 last month. I'm pretty sure that's not 8,000 people. It's probably 8,000 encounters. Still a large number. Over the Lu, following the start of a new asylum restriction in May, had diminished the impact, and people from dozens of countries, notably Venezuela, were drawn by the prospects of jobs and safety. Similar to other U.S. border cities, about 90% of migrants of San Diego quickly moved to other parts of the country. That's a sharp contrast to cities far from the border, such as New York and Chicago. But the constant churn of exhausted, disoriented migrants from more than 100 countries has created other strains that San Diego County government calls an unprecedented humanitarian crisis. Last week, after a community recreation center could no longer handle the flow of migrants, the Border Patrol resumed the drop-offs at a transit center. Arrivals from China, India, Brazil, Ecuador, Colombia, and many from West African countries filled a parking lot to charge phones, eat, use bathrooms, and wait for free shuttle buses to the airport. Is California far from here? An Interior man asked volunteers. I mean, you're in California now. Shuttles were announced in Spanish, Arabic, Otro Lado, a group aiding migrants, is seeking volunteers who speak Russia. Why are we letting Russians in? Pistachio, Creole, French, Portuguese, Amharic, Hindu, Mandarin, Somalia, Turkish, and Vietnamese. It's a brief moment of intervention before they can move on to connect with their loved ones, said Kate Clark, a senior director for immigrant services at Jewish Family Service of San Diego. Shelters still accommodate families with young children, member of the LGBTQ plus alphabet community, elderly and medical frail. The drop-off of other drop-off are largely for single adults. Since 2018, Jewish Family Services of San Diego and Catholic Charities together have helped more than 430,000 migrants in the region. I mean, that's a city. That's a small town of migrants. It's a small town. That's how large this is. But Catholic Charities of San Diego has recently halved the capacity to 2 hotels where it was housing migrants to about 800 people who stay an average of less than 2 days, says the CEO Vino Pajanor. The major issue is less federal funding as San Diego competes with New York and other cities to support aid migrants, he said. I mean, so the federal government's paying for this immigration. Local governments are paying for it. Local governments are feeling the full brunt of it. They're being overwhelmed. And Joe Biden seems to be asleep at the wheel. I mean, just because something happened in Israel doesn't mean that we're going to let up on this issue. Let's see here. Jewish Family Services have maintained shelter capacity about 950 at a hotel and another large facility. CBP did not respond to questions about drop-offs. Department of Homeland Security said last month it has given $790 million for migrant shelters this year and asked Congress for additional $600 million, while you got people that are struggling because of, I think it's roughly 14% inflation in 3 years, roughly, give or take a few percentage. They're struggling, and you're going to be paying immigrants that probably illegally cross the border. It doesn't seem like an American first policy right here. You got people actually struggling, about to become homeless, about to be evicted at no fault of their own because our money has devalued so quickly. But yet we're throwing money away at people illegally crossing the border. Awesome. A group says government support is needed even for the services at San Diego Transit Center parking lot, where migrants get travel advice from volunteers over the steady noise of railroad crossing, bells, and bus horns. County supervisors voted Tuesday to spend $3 million to provide airport shuttles, internet connectivity, snacks, and other basic services for migrants for 3 months. You know, $3 million to your local people that pay taxes can go a long way. That can ensure that you'll stay employed. Just saying, I mean, you give back to the people, not immigrants, but actually give back to the people. Flipping the bill, that could add a lot of support and a lot of stability within our own people. I mean, it's kind of hard to take care of immigrants when you're not taking care of your own people. I think that's one of the criticisms coming out of New York and Chicago is like these cities are spending all this money on immigrants when they could have been spending it on the people all this time, making their situation a lot better. I mean, it's a legit criticism. Let's see here. The Border Patrol dropped off about 400 migrants in early afternoon one recent day as airport shuttles left about every hour Overnight camping is prohibited. Migrants with flights within 24 hours are encouraged to wait at the airport. So you're going to overwhelm the airport. Awesome. The parking lot was a brief stop for Pedro Cardenas, 30, who was booked on a red-eye flight to Newark, New Jersey, after a grueling trip from Guayaquil, Ecuador. Smugglers squeezed about 14 migrants into a vehicle meant for a flight, forcing them to go hours without water or a bathroom break. And how's that humanitarian? How's that dignity right there? I mean, it seems like the people are getting paid the most are the smugglers or the coyotes. Carneades is a mechanic on a mining equipment, says violence and lack of work prompted him to leave his wife and child behind. He hopes to return with savings to buy land in Ecuador. I feel safer, he said. Feel happy but sad at the same time because I'm not with my family. As night fell, volunteers at a church with rooms of 40 people sought to make sure no one will sleep on the streets. Rincon Martin, 26, arrived too late in the day for a flight for his final destination in Allentown, Pennsylvania, and accepted a church offered with a fellow Colombian who was headed to Columbus, Ohio. Happy, content, Martin says, to describe his feelings before rushing off to brush his teeth at a portable sink and squeeze into a car on his way to overnight lodging. I mean, you know how I feel. I'm actually for immigration. I don't want to make it sound like I'm just against immigration. I'm actually for legal immigration. I'm not for the people coming here legally, not ones here that just want to work because they can't find jobs at their home country. I mean, there's people in America that can't find a job. But yet these people are going to flood the market with low-skilled workers, sometimes mid-skilled workers. When you have a flood of a pool, that means that a company can pay less, which means that everybody suffers. And the companies come out ahead because they're able to make more of a profit because they know that the next person that comes into the office that's hungry is going to take the job for peanuts. And they're going to be competing with people that are willing to take a $1 to $2, even sometimes $10 less paycheck per hour, just so they could have that job and have that stability because they're hungry just for scraps, which also devalues the work, the cost of work. Now, some say that could be one way to fight inflation because you got cheap labor, which means you can lower your price. But the issue is that they're not going to lower their price. They're just going to jack up their price. And you and I will still have to pay top dollar for their work. I think like I said, I'm all for legal immigration. I'm just not for people just crossing the border without going through the proper process and just claim asylum, even though that they're not really being persecuted. I mean, there is some cases where asylum is legit, but I'm pretty sure that's about 1 to 5% of all these cases. But guess what? Once they get a job, they go back to their court cases. It's a lot harder to deport them because they're being productive members of society. And who knows? I don't know. All I know is what we're doing right now is not working. There seems to be more people coming to the border. It seems to be going into the forefront. So this is probably going to be a major decider when it comes to the 2024 elections. They're going to happen next year. And I don't know what the impact is going to be. It's either going to be we want more of it or we want someone that will put an end to it. Only time will tell. With that being said, that is my video for today. And have yourself a wonderful day, morning, or evening.